to kind of go back into the automation and the development of it, where do you think AI has gone to when it comes to supply chain logistics world? Like, do you think that AI has gone to the point that it really is this really efficient system? Because you did bring up like how the industry was scarred, right? Because it was scarred with the promises that automation could do. Yeah. Do you think that automation now has the behind the scenes, it has enough of the back end systems and everything that's been created to be legitimate, to not cause that scarring again?
Yeah, so I think the main thing that helped on the economic side, I'll refer to Oscar for the technology and the AI, but on the economic side, what you have is, instead of having these crazy 5-year, 6-year, 7-year ROIs on a purchase or on a product or an entire system that used to be for automation, you have these more adaptable, segmented products that can do a lot more and have a lot more flexibility with 18-month ROIs instead of 7-month ROIs. So there's a huge wave of like software as a service, hardware as a service, robotics as a service, that kind of just helps customers adopt this technology without having to fear of, being basically washed away in a few years, because you can always adapt. You can always say, okay, I don't want it this month, I'll upgrade to something else the next month. On the AI side, I want what's more possible. I'll refer to Oscar because he's the
so I guess like something that was cool is that like a lot of these companies, especially like new AI companies, are releasing a lot of their software for free. So like self-driving car companies like Comma AI release like free software to completely like drive your car. Robotic companies like Fetch contributed to the development of the robot operating system. So like I, as a math student without like any real experience in AI, was able to make a robot that can like map its environment and like move around it. And because that's because like a lot of that stuff is already built. And it's like pretty easy to use once it's implemented.
Would you say then, when it comes to developer communities, it's become a lot more open sourced?
I think we're seeing a big wave that like, I don't know what it's like in production environment, but it's very easy to prototype because everything that you want like is free and open source. Okay.
Yeah, because that is one shift that I when I was in Italy, because they had the Arduino boards, the Arduino. Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, pronunciations all over the place, but those boards, because with that technology and how it's open source, you can do so much with it. And that blew my mind, because I was like, oh, this simple this simple thing right here, and you can do this, and then they have a whole category and they actually teach you how to do everything, and they give you the steps to do it.
And it's cool because not only is the software open source, but the hardware is getting so cheap.
Yes,
it's like the off-the-shelf hardware is so much better than it used to be. Like, we're living in an age of like very cheap, very good hardware. And then free open source software that you can just pair up, and it's pretty amazing.
So would you say now is the time to get in this kind of space with AI and all these kinds of things, since it is becoming more open source? And
like now, and I think it's going to get easier and easier as we go into the future.
Yeah. Do you actually think that a lot of these really technical things are going to require less code?
So I think part of it is that they're going to require less code, but I think our code is just going to be better. Like it's not that like, so yeah, like it's cool to be able to do stuff without being able to program, but I think these things especially are going to become easier for people that know how to program very little.
Okay. So pretty much opening up more opportunities in space.
Well, there's a thing that's being developed by the National Institute of Standard of Technologies, NIST. What they're basically trying to do is make an infrastructure for coding. And correct me if I'm wrong, Oscar, because you know about this better than I do. But they're trying to create an infrastructure for coding such that you can code in a visual diagram way. So you create basically the diagrams, and then the AI or the existing infrastructure takes your diagram and converts it into functional code.
Oh wow!
So that people without these crazy CS backgrounds can come in and develop stuff. Without having that rigorous training from a university, which I think for me is like amazing, because if you think of systems, or I think most people think visually, right? So to be able to create code visually, that's a huge step up for, I think, the entire human race, to be honest.